In the late winter and early spring of 1989, the racing world was abuzz with anticipation. A horse had come along, royally bred and from a family steeped in racing tradition, that was preordained to be the sport's next great superstar. It had been 11 years since a firm had won the Triple Crown, and everyone felt that this horse was going to be the one. His name was Easy Goer. Sired by the gallant Alydar and out of the champion Phipps mare Relaxing, he was bred and owned by Ogden Phipps, whose family had a long tradition in the racing world. He was trained by the young and upcoming and later to be named Hall of Famer Shug McGahee, who was the private trainer for the Phipps stable. Completing his team was champion jockey Pat Day. He was a massively handsome chestnut who everyone felt was going to be something special from that first maiden win at Saratoga in 1988. He won the Champagne with ease that year, and while he was upset in the mud at Churchill Downs in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, a scary kind of foreshadowing of things to come 6 months later from that race, he was still voted 2-year-old champion of 1988, and everyone's favorite to not only win the Derby the next year, but the Triple Crown as well. The great and legendary Harvey Pack stated when he was talking about Easy Goer during that Breeders' Cup telecast, "You are looking at a horse that actually makes me speechless." This is what Walter Brennan meant in the movie Kentucky when he said, "This horse has the look of eagles. This horse has the stamp of greatness on him." The start of his 3-year-old campaign did nothing to change those thoughts of many, as he won the Swale Stakes with ease, and followed that up with a record-setting performance in the Gotham, running the fastest mile ever by a 3-year-old. Following another facile victory in the Wood Memorial, people began saying that the comparison between him and the Immortal Secretariat was, well, easy. A comparison to another horse, though, is what people began talking about when Easy Goer was beaten on another money track in the Derby by Sunday Silence, and then again in the Preakness Stakes, in a race that the iconic broadcaster Jim McKay stated that none who saw it would ever forget.
Now their heads apart. Sunday Silence with Pat Valenzuela takes the lead at the quarter pole. Easy Goer back into second position. Dancel coming on third in the stretch. On the outside it's Sunday Silence. On the inside Easy Goer. And down the stretch they come. On the outside it's Sunday Silence. Easy Goer with Pat Day. Back to challenge. Heads apart. Easy Goer on the inside with a slight lead. On the outside Sunday Silence. The rest of them far back. Here's the finish of the Preakness. Sunday Silence and Easy Goer. Photo finish. Noses apart.
Would this regally bred chestnut go on to emulate not the Immortal Secretariat, but rather his father Alydar, finishing second in all 3 legs of the Triple Crown to a horse from the West Coast? The Belmont Stakes was a true showcase of just how good Easy Goer was. It had been said that because he was such a big and powerful horse, he had trouble truly accelerating around the tighter turns of smaller ovals, but he could really get motoring around the long sweeping turns of Belmont Park. He demonstrated that to perfection on this Belmont Stakes day, winning easily by 8 lengths, denying Sunday Silence the Triple Crown, and giving his aging owner a win in a race that he had coveted for so many years. His New York fans rejoiced and still proclaimed he was the better horse.
In his American debut, leading the pack 3 parts of a length. Now Pat Valenzuela asks for speed, and the Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner Sunday Silence responds. Easy Goer is also closing in on the top 2. Midway around the turn, Sunday Silence takes the lead and looks to the Triple Crown. Here comes Easy Goer on the outside to challenge. Le Voyageur is hanging tough. Those 3 across the track, and the others are far back. A quarter of a mile to go in the Belmont. Easy Goer on the outside takes command. Sunday Silence moves to the outside for the drive. The Voyageur is now in third, and down the stretch they come. It's Easy Goer with a furlong to the finish in front by 5. Sunday Silence appears beaten. The Voyageur is third. Down the stretch, and it's Easy Goer with Pat Day winning the Belmont and denying Sunday Silence the Triple Crown.
Following a brief rest after the Belmont, Easy Goer went on to reel off a set of Grade 1 wins that I can almost assuredly say will never be repeated again by a 3-year-old. It started in the Whitney at Saratoga versus older horses, repeating the feat of his dad in 1978. He then went back up against 3-year-olds in the Travers, and despite a brief challenge from Clever Trevor, pulled away again to win with relative ease, putting another Grade 1 feather in his cap.
Aside from having some trouble on tighter turns, another question about Easy Goer was could he win over a muddy surface? Being beaten in both the Breeders' Cup and the Derby on off tracks, that question was on everyone's mind as he took to a muddy surface again against older horses in the Woodward Stakes at Belmont. He finally did get that monkey off his back though, winning fairly easily and proving he could indeed run and win on any surface.
With a 16th of a mile to go, it's Easy Goer carrying top weight over an off-track, winning the Woodward by 2. It was its academic.
A win against older horses again at 1.5 miles in the prestigious Jockey Club Gold Cup capped off an amazing run of 5 straight Grade 1 wins, 3 against older horses, in some of the most prestigious races in the country. It had also increased the belief amongst his fans and the racing media that Sunday Silence had merely gotten lucky in the Derby and Preakness, and when the two met again in the Breeders' Cup, Easy Goer would show once and for all that he truly was the better horse. As you can see, in the words of Tom Durkin, racing epic, Sunday Silence again got the best of Easy Goer, securing both 3-year-old of the Year and Horse of the Year titles by just holding on for a neck victory. Many had felt it was once again those tighter turns and perhaps a misjudged ride by Pat Day that once again got Easy Goer beat.
Flushing John taking the lead, 3/8 of a mile out. It's Flushing John in front. Sunday Silence on the outside, gearing up now. He's left Easy Goer 2.5 lengths behind. They're coming to the top of the stretch, and Flushing John is under a hand ride. He leads by 1.5 lengths. Sunday Silence, a threatening presence on the outside. Easy Goer is set down and he's put to a fierce drive. Coming to the final furlong. Sunday Silence surges to the front. Flushing John trying to fight back. Easy Goer with one final acceleration, and Sunday Silence holds on, and he wins by it.
Pat Day actually spoke to me last year about Easy Goer when I caught up with him at the inaugural Equestricon event. I had asked him about the Breeders' Cup and the tighter turns theory. He let me know something that very few at the time knew about Easy Goer. Leading up to and following his win in the Gold Cup, Easy Goer had actually started to sour a little bit on racing and training. There was some question as to whether he would even go to the Breeders' Cup if he wasn't training up to snuff. They felt good enough to make the trip and run in the race, but Pat Day said even in that race he appeared to only be interested in racing for very short periods, such as that time he started to roll on the backstretch, and then again in about the final 1/8 of a mile of the stretch where he just missed catching Sunday Silence. Had he been on the bit the entire race, who knows what might have happened. It was the general consensus after that epic battle, though, that Sunday Silence was the better horse, even though Easy Goer's staunchest supporters would never admit it. The fans drooled over the possibility of future meetings of these two in their 4-year-old seasons. Sadly, those meetings were never to occur. Following an up-and-down return to the races as a 4-year-old with wins in an allowance race and the Suburban Handicap, but losing the Met Mile in between, Easy Goer was retired following the flare-up of front ankle issues, ironically the same issue that cut Alidar's racing career short. As a sire, he was considered mediocre by most, but did sire top horses My Flag, Will's Way, and Furlough. Tragically, he died of a heart attack in his paddock at Claiborne Farm at just 8 years old, so no one knows if he would have went on to produce more champions for the Phipps family. Many have been a little upset over the fact that, especially in New York, no major stakes races had been named for one of their most famous and loved equines. A few years ago, NYRA inaugurated the Easy Goer Stakes for 3-year-olds that is run on the undercard of the Belmont Stakes Day program. It is often used by 3-year-olds that were not quite ready for the Triple Crown grind as a springboard to bigger races in the second half of the year. West Coast used the race last year as a prep for bigger things to come in the Travers and the Pennsylvania Derby. It is hoped that in the years to come this race will at least earn a graded status, as nothing else would be acceptable as a fitting tribute to the horse known throughout the country as New York's Easy Goer.
This education segment brought to you by Thorofan. Check out Thorofan.com to learn everything about this amazing sport we call thoroughbred racing, and to become a member today. Thorofan, giving the fans a voice.